So now let's focus a little bit on code enforcement. And you, sir, had that in your title at some point. Just a show of hands here in the room. How many of you had a listing and it was incredible and the neighbor wasn't so incredible? Yeah. So from a code enforcement standpoint, currently, what are some of the enforcement calls that you're getting the most? And then as more of these agents begin to cross-sell into neighboring counties, what process would you recommend they follow when needing to get in touch with someone within Indian River County? Andy, please.
Sure. Yeah, something interesting happened in 2020. A new state law was passed that no more anonymous complaints were allowed. And that was a lot of our kind of bread and butter for complaints, was neighbors turning in neighbors. That's really changed. The amount of complaints that we get is down about 30% from before that law took effect, believe it or not. And folks are, worried about retaliation and things like that. So I've actually gone out and formed a couple little community groups that actually we meet and discuss in general what the issues are in code enforcement, and then my officers go out and kind of look for those items in the field versus what it used to be, which is, a neighbor would call in the neighbor and say, oh, there are, fences on my side or whatever. So we've actually had to go out and look for some of these violations because we're just not getting the volume that we used to. So that's one part of it. The second part is we've had just kind of an explosion of short-term vacation rentals in the county. I know they're pretty much everywhere, but we were a little slow to develop them, and now we have quite a few, over 1,000. And so I've actually hired a new code officer who starts Monday next week, who will be doing nothing but short-term vacation rental enforcement. So it's become a big topic in our county.
Very interesting, huh? All right. We're going to go ahead and pass that right on down to Susan, and then we'll end with Andra so I can have you start up the next question. So, Susan, same case in point. Code enforcement, what are you hearing a lot of, and what would be the best process as an agent to be able to connect with someone within Martin County?
So I don't have as much experience as Andy. However, the CRAs do have code enforcement issues because we do have not so much the short-term rental, but we have a lot of, in several of our CRAs that are very residential, we do have a lot of landlords, and they are absentee landlords. So they don't even live possibly in the county or maybe even in Florida. And that makes things a little bit more difficult when you're trying with all your other programs to make a place look a little nicer. Most of the code enforcement problems that we see are, lawn is too high, lots of trash on the street, and I mean like sofas and TVs and...
They created a sitting arrangement by the curb. How delightful. Yeah.
That's a very optimistic and positive way of looking at that. And we do have vacant properties that people tend to do other things on, and we do have, like most CRAs, we do also have abandoned properties, so there is sometimes homes that, or buildings that sit there unused, and that all makes for not only the place not to look very nice and not be very welcoming, but they are code enforcement issues as well. And as Andy pointed out, we also have had to change a little bit the way we view code enforcement because we're not getting the calls that we used to either. Our code enforcement is run through our building department, but we do work really closely with them. So for you guys out there, I mean, what I would do and what we have told any of our residents and our real estate folks, because people do call about these things, is, if you take note of something, real estate agents call us a lot, the CRA office, because they want to know about code, they want to know about what this area is all about, they want to know about, how does it feel to be there, and what is it like to live there, and can we open a business here, and what are the rules? But code enforcement's a big issue, and you can always call us and let us know that you're looking at something so that we can kind of go after that, if you will. Because just by you asking the question lets us know
There must be something
what's going
that brought
on.
it up.
Yeah, so we can work as a team on this particular issue.
All right. So same question, Thondra, for St. Lucie County, because I know that with the volume that this town has grown in just a few short years, you can't expect folks to have the same level of care. What actions are y'all taking?
So we're very much in the same situation. We saw a drop in complaints. Historically, our code enforcement has been 100% reactive, which means we get a complaint, we react to it, we go out, we check it out. Because of the change in state law, we have seen a decline. We do find that people are finding workarounds. People do things like call a commissioner, and then the commissioner suggests the code go out. Yeah, I do see that. I do get, because I work primarily with commercial properties, I do get the call from the realtor who says, so am I allowed to keep that stuff out there? Because I see my neighbor does it. So not so subtle.
Right.
We also have found that when a similar problem keeps cropping up, that we are more likely to do what we call a sweep. So one of the challenges in Western County has been recycling of lawn material, recycling of different kinds of materials. There have been some fires that did result in a sweep, and we've had a number of businesses that have had to go through. And of course, you always have the disgruntled employee or competitor who is willing to put their name on the record. If you do want to put your name on the record, we do have an online portal where you can file a request for service, is what it's called, which just sounds so harmless, a request for service. So you can do that through our application website, make a phone call, email, whatever. The other element that I would mention, aside from the improperly maintained property, that you just hate to see.
Right.
You hate to see a beautiful piece of property that's just being let go to waste. But the other thing I see a lot, because I do work with businesses, is how many businesses are not aware of the requirements for a business tax receipt to have your business be licensed. And I spend several hours every month in a code board meeting just working with those businesses, being there to represent them because they've gotten caught for not having the proper kinds of permitting and licensing. So if you do work on the commercial side, or for that matter on the residential side, I know we're the government, but we actually are kind of friendly. So please pick up the phone, pay us a visit, whatever it takes, ask the question, because it's so much easier to solve the problem up front than it is to try to fix it later. I've given you a whole bunch of contact information, and we really do like to talk to you. So please relieve us from our boredom by asking your questions.
Very nice, very nice.